Hello, everything embroidery market. I'm Christina, and of course, we have our co-host Hope Dale. And today we get to speak with Julie, and we're so excited to have you. So thanks for jumping on. We're right around the corner for this show, and it's like a whirlwind. Always trying to cross our T's, dot our I's, and get ready to go. But I guess I didn't mention you're with Machine Embroidery Geek. And before we get into what that is and who you are, Everything Embroidery Market is going to be in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina at the Myrtle Beach Convention Center, September 22nd through the 24th. There is still time to join. You go to eemshows.com. You'll see a full list of all the awesome vendors that we have that will be set up for cash and carry. You can fill your bags and go home with all kinds of awesome goodies. Also on eemshows.com, you will see a full list of all of our classes. And we've got a ton, everything from business classes, embroidery classes, sublimation, heat press, white toner printers, rhinestone classes, just all kinds of stuff.
All the things.
Yeah, all the things garment decorating and business related. We have that covered at Everything Embroidery Market in Myrtle Beach, just a few days away. So without further ado, today we're speaking with Julie with Machine Embroidery Geek. Julie, tell us who you are. What is Machine Embroidery Geek?
Well, I think the name kind of says it all. I spend a lot of time in front of my embroidery machines. I digitize and make designs and create resources for embroiderers. So I have a pretty extensive collection of designs, as well as some ebooks and a lot of courses that are self-paced courses you can take online. So that's what I do.
And you have a blog too.
Yes. A blog is a big part of it. So I started blogging, I think it was like 2010. And I was just really testing the theory. If I write about something every day, will I actually learn it? And at that time I was trying to learn how to digitize. And I thought, well, if I have to talk about it. And I think as a result, the blog was pretty uninteresting because I was like, and another thing I did, and another thing about me, and another thing about me. And then when I finished that and built my digitizing skills up, I thought that there was a lot of potential in providing this really rich resource all about embroidery. And so I went back and really retooled the whole blog and made them more user focused. And so trying to answer the questions that people have. And it's fun now to have this resource available because people email me all sorts of crazy questions. And yesterday somebody sent me an email and asked how to convert BX fonts to VIPs. And I was like, well, it doesn't really work that way. And I just said, I think this might help you. And I have a whole blog post about what are BX fonts and how do they work? And I'm like, does this help? And she wrote back, this is exactly it. I got it. So it's fun and satisfying. And so I enjoy it quite a bit.
You're muted.
Just kidding. I muted you. my kiddo was yelling at the dog in the background. So sorry about that. It's Friday.
It is Friday.
Oh, yeah. Yes. But I think that what you just said is exactly what Everything Embroidery Market encompasses. We want people asking questions, learning the things that they want to hear. I mean, I feel like there's so many rabbit holes that you can go through, and you just, if you're online, you can, veer off here and veer off there. And at the end of it, you may not have gotten the answer to the question that you were asking in the first place. So when you have someone like yourself that people can go ask you a specific question, get that answer in a user-friendly type environment, that's huge. That's huge. And I love that that's something that over the years, you've decided that's what you want to do. And good morning, Lisa. I see that you're here. Welcome. We're glad to see you.
So I'm kind of starstruck. Is Lisa Shaw saying hi to me?
She is. She's excited to meet you. I'm telling you, y'all are going to hit it off. Y'all have.
Oh, I'm excited. I've watched a lot of her videos. I feel like I know her very well.
Yes, Lisa, at the show, you need to go say hi to Julie, because Hope and I, we've already decided y'all are going to be best friends. You have lots of similarities, and we'll set you up with your new best friend.
Yes, I think I'm going to camp out in her classes on Thursday.
Yeah,
so I'm excited. I'm excited to learn.
Yes, they're going to be great. They always are. So, so after Thursday, we have
Thursday,
we have you teaching several classes, and we'll start with class number 1. Oh, Lisa says double trouble.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yes.
Sure.
Okay. After so your first class on Friday. I have cutting and editing SVG files. What are you guys going to be going over in that class?
Yeah, so SVG files, as this audience probably knows, are super useful for a lot of different reasons in the printing industry and the cutting industry and even embroidery. So for example, many digitizing programs, and I'm not familiar with all of them, but at least Stitch Artist level 3, the highest level of the Embrilliance programs, allows you to import vector-based files, SVG files. And that's really helpful because it allows the software to know, like, this is exactly where we want the embroidery area to be. It's very precise. Instead of bitmap graphics where you bring them into a digitizing program and it, pixels are a little, they can't really tell where those nice, crisp, clean edges are. So there are a lot of ways to create SVG files. There is a program called Inkscape, which is 100% free. It's open source. And I feel like in preparing for this session, I got to know it more than I ever did before. And I kept thinking, well, certainly it can't do this, what you could do in Adobe Illustrator, which is a much more expensive program. And I kept proving myself wrong. So it's a powerful tool. It's 100% free. It's open source, and it runs on a Mac or a PC. And so we'll be talking about vector-based graphics and SVG files, which is a file format of a vector-based graphic. And then we'll be looking more into Inkscape specifically.
Yes. And like you said, whether you're doing embroidery or even if you're cutting, using it for cutting files or something else, just having a good base of what an SVG is a really great building block for everything else. So I think that's going to be a really useful tool. And yeah, I think, again, another reason that you and Lisa need to hook up, because we're all about the Embrilliance too. So
I'm still really working my way around Embrilliance, and having digitized before, you kind of know what's possible. So it's a matter of like, I'm sure it's here that you could probably do this, but I just don't know exactly. Yeah. It's like learning a different syntax.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of where I am with Embrilliance right now.
Yeah. Well, Lisa will get you all set up.
So,
we haven't signed up for her classes. You need to do that too. Some of hers, I guess, the Thursday class, one of them's already sold out. The other one's closed. So if you haven't signed up, do that.
Okay.
So class number 2. So this is the class that I'm super, super excited about, because in Biloxi last year, we had so many people say they wanted this class, and we had a version of this class at the last show, but I think someone teaching this class that really knows our industry is going to catapult it into
it's going to blow people's minds.
So, yes. So class number 2 is e-commerce for beginners. What is that? What are you guys going to be going over?
Yeah, well, I'm still sorting that one out a little bit, but I think I have a pretty good perspective on e-commerce since I've been building websites since the late 90s. And what's cool about where we are in this moment of web history is that these platforms are really user friendly, and there are a lot of ways to go that are pretty low risk. So we'll be talking a little bit about are you actually ready to start, your own e-commerce site? It's easy to build one, but you got to get people there, and I know a lot of people bash Etsy just because their fees and it's very competitive and all of that, but kind of using Etsy as sort of like a platform, a stepping stool for growing your own site. And the reasons why you want to grow your own site, you don't want to build your own empire on somebody else's platform. You really want to get your people onto your own platform. So we'll look at some of the like Shopify and WooCommerce and Wix and Weebly, and they all offer some e-commerce capabilities. But all of these platforms were kind of designed with a different intention in mind. And so there's some pros and cons to each. So we'll talk about registering domain names, some of the requirements for e-commerce, a secure site, privacy policies, that kind of stuff. So some of the technical nitty gritty, maybe a little bit of history.
Yes.
Like to throw that in there. So that's what we're going to be talking about in that class.
Yeah, I mean, I think that'll be really good. Like you said, there's so many different options. A lot of people are afraid to pull the trigger. They know they need that, or if they want to, grow their empire of sorts, like you were saying, but they're afraid to pull the trigger because there's so many different options.
It's
So
overwhelming.
It is overwhelming. So I love that you'll kind of be comparing and contrasting, showing the, I guess, the highlights for each platform, and then they can choose which one they feel fits their business the best. And then, now that they know this, okay, this is a good fit for my business, they can kind of run with it. And,
Right. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, my hope is that people leave just excited and ready to expand, to learn something new, try something new, and not be afraid to do it just because it's overwhelming.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people who have embroidery businesses, they're used to offering embroidery as a service. So kind of shifting your mind to be thinking about inventing products that are actually like resellable, because once you go through the time of creating a listing and making nice pictures and all of that you don't want to make a one-off thing, selling something that doesn't take, finding the right product that you can get the blank reliably, and that it's something unique and that it's worth your time to make and that you can do it again and again. So kind of shifting that mindset from being service focused to like creating a product line, I think is something to think about too. So we'll talk about that a little bit, product pictures, videos, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, awesome. I think that's going to be a really good one. Like I said, people keep asking for this class, and I love that you have the knowledge of our industry and you're able to say, okay, with embroidery, it's not just selling a t-shirt that's already made. I need my website to be able to have a place where people can personalize, right? It's not just to add to cart, it's a add to cart with a personalization, and being able to encompass that inside a website. I feel like people are going to walk away so excited, and I can't wait to see it.
Oh, good. Yeah. There are so many customization options that you can add into some of these e-commerce sites. So
yes. Lisa says, I love that you'll include the histories. So many don't know the pains of the HTML in the 90s.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I've written e-commerce sites from scratch, and I mean, that sounds like really high tech and crazy, but it's really just, querying a database and adding information into a database and pulling information out of a database. But now that, like, with all of the security threats and there's so many off the shelf options that there's not a huge reason why you would ever do that anymore.
Right. And again, I think it's just people are afraid because there's so many options. And so presenting it to people where now it's bite-sized chunks. I know the pros and cons, and actually I can do it too. It's not as hard as I have worked up in my mind. It's going to be really good. Okay. So now we're going to move on to the next class. We have you teaching computer basic for embroiderers and printers. What is that?
Yeah, that is a good question. I think I was most daunted about teaching this class because sometimes I dream in code. Like, the computer is pretty natural to me. So it's hard to put myself in the mindset of like, but fortunately I have a sister that is very technologically inept. So I just really kind of thought, I tried to think like her. But she's a doctor. She's a smart person. She just I emailed her some files one time. She wanted me to digitize something for her, and I sent them to her, and she's like, I don't know how to get it out of my email.
Yes.
So I'm
Yes.
trying to
Yes.
think, what are the questions that she would ask?
Well,
And
and
that's sort of guiding my
yeah, she's not
presentation.
alone.
Yeah.
We've
Mhm.
had so many people ask that exact question.
Mhm.
I know that my embroidery machine has built-in fonts or built-in whatever, but I
Mhm.
want to do something that you, Julie, as the digitizer created. I want to be able to put that on my machine. I bought the file, but how do I get it there? How do I
Yeah.
open it? How do
How do I
I
put it on a USB or
right,
flash
Mhm.
drive,
right.
whatever?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And there's some weird things with memory sticks. My friend runs it. She's got a Janome MB7, I guess. And in order for that machine to read the file, it has to be in a specific directory structure. Like you have to name it this, and it has to be in a subdirectory there, and then it can read it. So
Mhm.
if you actually put the flash drive into the machine, it'll format it and make those folders, and then you just put that in that folder. But not only do you have to have the right format, you have to have it in that right directory structure.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there are other machines that are like that too, but I always mention that with like troubleshooting things that I've written.
Yes.
Yeah, about that could be your problem.
See,
Mhm.
and I think that that's why this class, or all of these classes that you're teaching, they're kind of all in the same wheelhouse. It's some things may not be as hard as you think they are once you
Right.
know how to do it, right?
And if you
Right.
They're
have
not
that
hard.
basic
It's just your
knowledge,
brain, right? Your brain doesn't automatically think, oh, well, I should try this. But once you know to do it, you're like, oh, that's easy. And then you can keep moving.
Mhm.
Jenny
I've
said,
got this. Oh, sorry. I've got this stupid little. I've got a Brother PE 535 that is I use as a backup machine, and I put a thumb drive. Half the time I put the flash drive in there, it's like cannot read the media. I'm like, yeah, you can. I
yeah,
think you can. And so
I
just
believe that you can. I believe in
you
you.
can do this. So I turn it off, turn it back on. It can.
Yep.
So you can't be daunted by those kinds of little glitchy
Sometimes
things.
it's just knowing something like that. Like your
Mhm.
computer needs to restart. It's like the
Mhm.
other day I tried to get on a vendor live and my mic and camera wasn't working. First I was like,
Oh,
oh God, not this.
yeah.
Like, ugh. And I'm like going into my settings and seeing if there's anything that I accidentally turned off or on or
Mhm.
something like that. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to do the most basic thing. We're going to
Mhm.
restart. And everything was fine. It
Amazing.
just needed to
Yep.
restart.
your
Sometimes it's
computer,
as simple as
yeah,
that.
your
Yep.
computer was having a Monday. It said, I need
It
a
was.
break.
It
Yeah.
did. It did.
Yeah.
And it was fine once I restarted it. And sometimes it's just knowing that simple
Mhm.
thing that it just needs a restart.
Mhm.
But no,
Yeah.
having those like solid building blocks, it makes everything a lot easier. And I feel like, there's some people that grew up with computers and are knowledgeable. Like we don't think twice about some of the things we know because it's
Mhm.
so ingrained in us. And then there's
Mhm.
others that didn't grow up with it. And so
Mhm.
they don't have those solid building blocks. And I
Mhm.
feel like this is really going to be helpful for everyone that takes it to just
Yeah.
have those solid building blocks so that they can figure some things out.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm curious to hear the questions that come up. Somebody emailed me the other day about they had a set of files, and the way that their computer was previewing these embroidery files, they all had like some weird label on them. Like clearly the computer didn't know how to handle the file extensions. So the set of files were like the same embroidery design, but as all of the different formats, but she couldn't tell which one was the PES format. And so I wrote her back. I'm like, did you try right clicking on it and look at the properties? That'll probably tell you. And I mean, that was just my guess. And she
Yes.
wrote back and she was like, oh my gosh, that is the coolest. Like she had no idea.
Yes.
So it's just something that I like you take for granted if you use computers all the time.
Right. Well, and you said the questions. You're excited to see the questions. That's the cool thing about these classes. You can ask questions, get an answer, and that may spark another question from someone in the class, and then
Mhm.
everyone's now learned something new.
Yeah.
There's shortcuts on your keyboard. People may not know how to use that or what
Mhm.
that is, and the more you hear other people like, well, this works for me, the more you're like, oh, I should try that. So
Yeah,
Mhm.
you didn't know that you had that question. You're
Yeah.
like, oh, wait, that I had no idea, but that's cool. I'm glad I can do that now. I didn't
Yes.
even know that was a thing like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And
Yeah.
to be in person to get that kind of feedback.
yes. And Jenny says she's excited to take that class on e-commerce. It's going to be a really good one. I know you're going to love it for sure. And Amy says that there's something new to learn about computers, or there's always something new to learn about computers and creating. And you wish you could be there. We wish you could too, Amy. There's still time. We'll call your boss and tell your boss that
I will personally talk to your boss if that's the problem.
Yes. Anyway,
I'm excited about the rhinestone class.
Yes.
Libby have the dazzle everything.
Yeah, Libby Ashcraft. She's doing rhinestones. That's on Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Lisa says, yes, the person next to you is probably asking the question that you're thinking. Yeah, that's, again, I know I'm not trying to beat a dead horse, but that's what this is all about. That's what everything embroidery is all about. That's why I feel so passionate. I know the more heads that come together, the better. And the awesome thing about this industry is we all want to build each other up. And if we can kind of come together and be a tribe, as Lisa said earlier, we're all going to be more successful. We're all going to be happier. We're all going to grow our businesses and our hobbies. And it's really, really fun. Oh, Amy, I'm so sorry to hear that about your husband. We'll be thinking about him, and you'll be with us in spirit. And you can always head over to Julie's blog. She's got a ton of really good resources over there. Like she said, she's written some ebooks and some really good stuff. If you just want to take a look at what she's got going on, there's a lot, and it's full of information. So
anything you can think of, she's really covered it.
I've looked at it
a bunch of times.
I have a few ideas that I'm like, I made this major course this summer called Master the Machine, Learn to Embroider Like a Boss. And I sold it as a beta, I had just an outline and offered it at a really, really low price. And I thought this will be great if like 20 people sign up for this class. And I had 130 people sign up for it. Wow. And I was like, oh my gosh, my husband's like, but you haven't made it yet. And I'm like, nope, have not made it. So that was part of the deal. I rolled out new content every week and people were aware of the situation. So I've gotten some great feedback, from it, but it has been, lots of content cranking out every single week. And so I finally am at the last week right now, which is probably why I'm like, okay, so what do I have to do for E? I'm gotta get ready. But in making this class, I have some blog posts now in my head because I was forced to cover so much. Like I had really never tried quilting on an embroidery machine or like making quilt blocks, but I wanted to demonstrate some of those different techniques in my class. Yep. So it kind of forced me to try some stuff, but thank the Lord I'm done making that class. It's so much work.
Maybe I should take that class. It sounds really interesting.
Oh gosh, yeah. I was like, I am so sick of Julie TV. As the more I've filmed so many videos of myself.
Well, the joys of technology, right?
Yeah. I went back and looked at some of the footage. I'm like, there's a beer in the background. Should I take that out?
Hey,
I think it's real life.
It is real life.
Real life.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we'll have a cash bar over at
that's good. Great.
So just throw that out there. If all else fails, grab a cocktail and enjoy.
Yeah, sometimes it just kind of just relaxes you into it,
Yes,
it does.
Absolutely. Well, Julie, we are so excited to see you again. Before you guys head over to Everything Embroidery Market on the 22nd, go to Julie's website, machineembroiderygeek.com, and check out everything that she has, all of those classes, and then make sure you sign up for her classes that will be in person at eemshows.com. Get those questions ready, look over those posts and say, you know what, she'd be a good question to ask this or this. And that's something that y'all can do during the class. Or over a cocktail, right?
Yeah,
So,
sure. That sounds
yeah.
great.
Yes. Well, we look forward to seeing you one more time.
Thank you.
Everything Embroidery Market is going to be in Myrtle Beach, September 22nd through the 24th. It's not too late to sign up. While we do accept walk-ups at the show, to make sure you get a spot in that class, sign up today at eemshows.com. There's a full vendor list, a full list of classes. We can't wait to see you there. Bye, guys. Thanks, Julie.
Bye, guys. Thank you.